All right, so getting into the weather preview for the Honda Classic. Now, I would say like the most interesting and probably the most crucial data point that we have going into this tournament right now as it sits is going to be the weather report. And it is not pretty, just given the fact that I have looked in different spots and they all say a different message in terms of the weather report. I literally looked 3 hours ago and it was suggesting that the weather was going to be more difficult on Thursday. And so this is kind of the typical kind of weather that we do see at this tournament. It's that sometimes it's projecting to be less than it is, and then the winds come in and they really play a big difference. It was kind of like the Waste Management Phoenix Open, where on average the weather wasn't too crazy. Like the winds were pretty solid throughout the week, but there was a slight AM wave that struggled because of the weather, the winds being heavy, and then they kind of fell off. That is kind of what I'm expecting here, where the gusts could be very high gusts. And so if we look at it, I'll show you guys kind of the terminology here. And this is set specifically this way, okay? Winds that are less than 15 mile per hour winds don't really change the scoring too much. 10 to 15 mile per hour winds doesn't really change the scoring of a tournament too much. And that's what we're looking like we're going to have. But I currently have the weather set at 16 to 20 mile per hour winds. And that is when we do see the wind really playing a difference in terms of how the tournament is going to score. So we can see why this is going to be a turning point in terms of how the tournament plays. And so I currently had the 9 to 5 specialist data set to bad weather. Okay. And I went with this because I do think that there's a great chance that the wind report is wrong. And it already has adjusted a few times thus far this week in terms of really being heavy winds and not being heavy winds. Okay, so I just went with bad because on average, this is a tournament that does feature some tougher scoring due to the winds. And so looking at that, these would be the players that we're looking at. And Brent Grant propping up there, guys. Very interesting play, I would say. Obviously, he has a small sample size there going into that. But after that, really no shocks here. I guess Denny McCarthy is pretty shocking. I would not have figured that. Bazun out, we would have. Pendrith, we would have. Dietrich, Wise, Hodges, Shank. One of my favorite value plays is popping up there. Alex Noren withdrew. And guys, if Alex Noren withdrew to go to the DP Tour, I'm going to be really kind of upset at him, honestly, because I've had him in my, and I say it's best in quotes because it didn't end up finishing the best, but had he made the cut, it would have, because it would have been 6 for 6 the last 2 weeks. I've had him in my best lineup the last 2 weeks. And if he sucked the last 2 weeks because he had a thought in his head about potentially going to the DP Tour, that he might just be taking the easy way out, and that would explain why he wasn't able to grind away a par, putt, or even just a par on the 18th hole 2 tournaments ago, because he's taking the easy way out mentally and going to the DP Tour or Live Tour. That would not sit well with me. It just wouldn't. And so I don't hope he's injured. I hope he has a valid reason for withdrawal and not for that reason, because that's going to be upsetting to me. But anyways, you guys didn't really come in here for that talk, but I just want to really echo this point, is that this can really change the whole dynamic of how this tournament plays out. Like there could be a random weather advantage as well. Okay. AM or PM. Okay. And I have done some builds already set up with that. And so that'll be part of the approach that we go with. But I want to start out with some PrizePicks coverage as well as some underdog coverage. So let's go ahead and get into that. So I'm going to get into the prop chart here and just looking at, we're not going to see a big edge really with any of the props that we're getting. And so once again, the toughest part about gaming this tournament is going to be predicting the weather correctly. Okay. So we can see we do have some that are kind of favored. Jason Duffner over 2.5 birdies or better made. That is ugly. Okay. That's the best bet we're getting. I don't know how I feel about that. Obviously, so this honestly would be a good bet if the weather isn't terrible. Okay. Because it's just going to be a little bit easier to score. It wouldn't be that hard to get another birdie in there. And I say that because in theory, I don't want to say that golfers are going to birdie both the par fives, but in theory, they should, unless they're playing stupid, they should be able to birdie the par fives. So really, he just needs to make one more birdie somewhere. And you would think any professional golfer, yes, the scoring's tough. They're going to make bogeys. They're going to make double bogeys and whatnot, but they should be able to make some birdies. So that does make sense. So if the weather isn't terrible, it does make sense that this is like the top prop that's popping up. Now, if we reverse it, and I don't really want to chase the birdie or better matchups, we can see we're not getting that many good edges. And why is this? Because PrizePicks is currently setting their lines based off of the expectation that the weather is going to be difficult. Okay, so let's just individually look at strokes, because right now, and this is another interesting thing as well. Although, and well, I'll show us with the greens and regulation. Although PrizePicks is kind of pricing it up a little bit because of the weather, we can still see that we are favoring the over. The thing that sucks is that we were getting better lines earlier on this week when the lines originally dropped. I had already made those bets because it didn't seem like they were factoring in the weather there. So if weather isn't an issue, I would actually not mind the idea of betting the under here. Okay. So the tournament average is 70.3. Okay. Scoring average. And so we could see a path into which we would be betting the under, maybe for Sungjae. That'd be 1 under par. That shouldn't be that hard for the best player in the field to do that. Thomas Dietrich, who has played extremely well, averages 69. That's just 1 under par. So in theory, that shouldn't be that hard to do, but we can see it definitely depends on the weather. And I did just want to call out one difference here. So let's look at Aaron Wise. Aaron Wise is set at 70 here. We can see the over is slightly favored at 0.9 for an edge. So not a big edge. Okay. If we go ahead and pull up Underdog, we can see that Aaron Wise is set at 69. This is a huge edge. Okay, Aaron Wise is a good win player and whatnot. We just saw that. He is a player that I think is going to do well. But if we are trying to make bets based off of how the tournament's going to play, based off of how the course is going to play, this is the best bet that we're getting, would be Aaron Wise over 69 strokes. Okay, now if you want to go the other way, and this is why I like gaming on both sites, you could thus bet the under on PrizePicks. Okay, and this has been a profitable approach that I went with. We do see differences between Underdog and PrizePicks. So you can kind of game it in that sense. Now, the differences that we have right now are not huge, but I do want to call this out. So like Billy Horschel, they bumped it down. They bumped it down to 3 birdies or better. But this still seems like a little bit too high for Billy Horschel, or too good of a number for Billy Horschel, 69. And I kind of want to call Billy Horschel out on here as well. So 69.5 on Underdog, 70 on PrizePicks. I'd say 70 is probably right on PrizePicks. The one I want to call out, and I'm mad that they have changed these, okay? We were getting better numbers as well earlier, okay? So Billy Horschel, we know that he's changed his swing, right? He is someone that just wouldn't shock me to see struggle. See, I know a lot of people have bet him outright. I guess I'm fine with that. It's not for me. I get why. He's a world-class player. He's third best player in the field. You expect him to figure it out. But probably not, right? Like, it's probably I don't want to say a dumb outright bet because I get the logic behind it, but like, chances are Billy Horschel's not going to do well this week, just given the fact that he has changed his swing, right? We have seen that very inconsistent play, even swing to swing, okay? It's not like round by round. It's not tournament by tournament. It is literally swing by swing. He's being very inconsistent with his swing. So we can already see that he is one of the highest projected greens in regulation. Not by much. I mean, everyone's pretty much set at 11.5. But if he is struggling with the consistency there, and if the tournament does play more difficult via the wind, it's not too shocking to see maybe Billy Horschel get under these greens in regulation. And so if we pull up his PGA Tour kind of card, we can see, and like this is a data point we have already in there anyways, 102nd in greens in regulation. That is not good, 67.8%. So if we go back in here for the greens in regulation, and I want to point this out, like it is slightly favoring the over greens in regulation. And so this is an approach that you could either bet all over or all under greens in regulation. And hopefully that the wind is either not there or it's heavily present. That's really the bet that you'd be making here. So for Billy Horschel, I want to call out about 12.79 greens in regulation. Okay, player average. That's pretty good, right? Lately, though, he has been struggling since he's made his swing changes. Okay, and so like really, if we wanted to bet the overs, we'd be doing Seb Straka, who just peppers green. Aaron Rai, who's actually a decent win player. You could even go Sungjae, but he's projected right there. I just think, given the swing changes, that this would probably be the best bet that we could make. Okay, don't love it, but in theory, a decent bet. You're betting on him not figuring out his swing, which he might have. Okay, he easily could have. It's just a weird thing that he did. I don't get it. All right, guys, so one thing I want to try today is going to be doing a best ball draft. So let's get into that. Okay, I'm waiting on it right now. This can be a fun avenue. And if you guys want to try this out, click the link in the description below. I'm a partner with Underdog. Actually, a big thing, kind of an exciting thing. Probably should have made an announcement on this. I'm an official Underdog partner. So if you use the link in the description below, you get a 100% match on deposit up to $100. Using that link helps me out as well. And it's a way in which we could probably do some fun drafts together as well. But I think this is going to be a fun avenue. And so the way we could potentially game this, and this is how I'm going to game it, is that we have this 9 to 5 data, right? This predictive data in terms of first round leader. So in theory, we should be able to game it, especially if we favor maybe AM tee times. And like this is a way that we could strategize with the best ball drafts. So I'm going to sort by AM only here. So sort by AM only, and then we're going to scroll down to first round leader, and we're going to sort by first round lead. Now, Shane Lowry's not exactly popping up here. I'm going to treat him as the first overall pick. Okay, I'm fine with that. And then from there, interesting stuff. Like we get Aaron Wise, Denny McCarthy, Hayden Buckley. That's surprising. Grayson Sigg. So we can see how we can kind of be unique in this sense where, kind of game theory, we should be able to gain an edge. And typically speaking, I mean, this is pretty darn good. You could also just go by first round leader Vegas rank if you wanted to do that as well and just favor the AM tee times. Okay, so I'm excited for this. We're going to test this out right now. And so because this is round 1 only, that's why I kind of want to favorite like a showdown build, right? We are pretty successful with the showdown stuff. I would say showdown data wise, I don't like to pat myself on the back, but I think we do pretty well with the showdown data. Kind of one of the originators for said data. Popularized showdown contests because we had a lot of success from it. There's a big edge there. And so I'm assuming that we can get a big edge here as well. So I realize it's going to be very difficult to see here, but we can see Shane Lowry going to be the best pick, then Wise. Ming-Woo Lee we could go with. I kind of worry about him a little bit. I'd probably rather go Denny. Feels a little bit safer. Then Ming-Woo we can go with. Then JT Poston. Billy Horschel popping up there. I don't love. Probably don't want to do that. Higo popping up there. That's interesting. So the only worry is that what we're betting on is 2 things. The AM wave being the easiest scoring one, which typically speaking it is, okay? And then these players coming through for us. Where the heck is Straka? What the heck? Straka. So we're getting decent value on Straka, it seems like. Here we go. All right, give me Aaron Wise. Yes. Let's go. Aaron Wise. Let's just pull this up again. I got 21 seconds. Second most likely out of the first round lead and top 4 this round. Aaron Wise, draft. Boom. Sitting pretty. If you guys are wondering about Finn Dawson, that's my online gamer tag. What I always used. That's why I have it. It's a fun one. Oh my goodness. If I can get Denny McCarthy on the way back, that's going to be huge. Huge. Robbie Shelton. Yeah, he's a good play this week. Let's pull him in there. And so my biggest issue with this is like the mental aspect. Like I don't like the fact that I could have easily got Thomas Dietrich, Matt Kuchar, who are some of my favorite plays. Chris Kirk could be a really strong play this week. And so by favoring an AM wave, we are kind of, it's a mental thing. That's the toughest part. Like Thomas Dietrich, this is an insanely good value for him. Like one of the better plays that we're getting this week, and you can get him at 12.8. So I probably will do 2 builds, 2 drafts. One based off of AM only, and then one just based off of first round leader rank. Holy crap. We got Denny McCarthy second, who's the 3rd most likely at the first round lead. Let's go. Let's go, guys. Pretty ideal start for this draft. Oh my goodness. So this whole first round leader rank, just so you guys know, and I'm kind of doing 2 sections in one in case you didn't figure that out here. I'll probably just, let's go down to this, is that this is currently set by AM only. And so ignore Shane Lowry and like Ming-Woo Lee. This is where if we go by Vegas rank, like they just don't have enough rounds really for the PGA Tour this season to have that first round leader rank. So I guess that's the biggest issue. And that's why I'm sorting by Vegas rank right now as well. But like last week, if you had bet on the top 7 players from the AM wave, you hit Max Homa at, 30-1, chopped up 15-1. And typically speaking, over 50% of the time, someone that ranks out top 7 or better from the AM wave is having a first round lead. Now, that's not shocking because it's typically chopped up, but it is a pretty predictive kind of data set that we have. And so now I'm going to put in the rest of the players that kind of rank out really well this way. Adam Schenk, we could get in there. All right, let's do that. Oh, I'm up. Oh, shoot. Missed it. Seb Straka we got. I'm fine with that. Could have got Ben Griffin, though. I actually don't mind Ben Griffin as well. Let's get him in there. Oh, man. I don't want to go Garrett Higo. I'm not going to go Garrett Higo. Sig, Buckley, Bremlett, Griffin. I want to go Shelton, I think. Bremlett's still there. Oh, do we go off the data? I'd like Adrian, though. I do. I'm trying to go straight off the board. So we'll go Bremlett. Don't love that. Probably should have went Adrian. We got 2 more picks here. I'm hoping that we can get Adrian. And if not, I want to get Shelton and Schenk. I'd feel pretty good about that. Now, Buckley's up there as well. He ranks out really well first round leader rank. Be fine with that as well. Like Grayson Sig, guys, look at this. Like this could be a big edge for you if you're doing drafts. He could be someone that you are snatching up as the last pick, and he ranks out really well first round leader wise. And obviously this is data in a bad field. Like, okay, like if it doesn't work out, whatever. We can see huge edge here. Huge edge. Okay. Man, if I had the last pick in the draft, I probably would go for him. But I kind of want to get Schenk. I feel like Schenk's a solid play. Model wise, just as a whole, Schenk ranks on much better of a play than does Sig. We could also just sort by round 1 points. Probably what I should have started with. Yeah, probably should have done that. Let's get Adrian. I want Adrian. Sound like Rocky. Adrian. Am I up again? No. Oh, crap. I did miss the freaking pick. Higo. We got Higo. Oh, this is disaster. And guys, this is literally the toughest part about doing content. Is that up so? I mean, we got to go Sig now. Do we? This is the toughest part about doing content is that putting in educated lineups and entering contests like this is very much a process. And so we can already see by putting out content, I made some mistakes there, right? I probably just wasted $10 because I wasn't fully prepared. I was making content. And I have had that problem multiple times already this year with round 1 showdown, round 2 showdown and whatnot. And even just mass entering in general. Like last week, I can pretty confidently say, had I mass entered, I probably, don't want to say probably would have taken down a GPP, would have been very close to taking down a GPP. Like the player pool was that strong. You guys know. And it's just when you're putting out so much content, hours a day on multiple videos, it's tough to really take the time to do all these different avenues in terms of making money. Drafts, PrizePicks, Underdog, props, Showdown, outright bets, just normal bets, DFS lineups. It all adds up. And so I prioritize the content for you guys. That's my goal, is to put out content that you guys can use to be successful. So kind of went through the first round leader. We can kind of see exactly how it's going to play out. Okay. Once again, Shane Lowry and like a lot of these guys, the DP Tour players, they just don't have enough starts just yet. Okay. That's the biggest worry. So if we sort by first round leader rank and just AM only, Shane Lowry, Mingwoo Lee, Aaron Wise, Danny McCarthy, JT Poston, Billy Horschel, Vegas, Straka, Higo, Adrian. Okay. Now if we sort by first round leader rank, these are of players that have applicable data that we can use data with: Wise, McCarthy, Buckley, Sig, Bremlett, Griffin, Higgs. Okay. And this is if the AM has a weather advantage. And so real quickly, we're going to do a round one only lineup build for you guys. So we need to just put 2 data points in there. So I'm going to cap Will Gordon a little bit, 5, whatever. And Patrick Harrington, let's do 15 for these 2, whatever. I actually don't like those 2. The rest of the plays I'm fine with. We'll do 30% max exposure, 3 unique players in the build, and we're going to generate it to show you guys what could potentially be the best build. And guys, this is something that I've done the past 2 weeks, just done this the past 4 rounds, and it's been profitable. Literally no thought going into it, just boom, boom. Okay, so the best build would be Dietrich, Wise, Adrian, Shelton, Gordon, Patrick Harrington. Now, I don't like Harrington. I don't like Gordon. I don't feel like they're that good at plays. So maybe we go with this build instead. All right, let's go ahead and get into outrights. All right, so if we were to sort the players are most likely to win just simply based off of the AM only, and I'm doing this because there is a potential that there could be a weather advantage. We'd be looking at Lowry, Wise, Mingwoo Lee, and I just don't trust that. I really feel like Denny McCarthy is setting up for a good win, okay, as a bet. And so if we pull him up, we can see, did have a couple of starts in which he was in contention. And then last week, or last event, 14th place finish. We have seen the upside at this tournament as well. Resides in Florida. Has those as like a narrative if you want. 4th best pick this week in the 9-to-5 model. 6th best specialist in the field as well. So like everything is looking like Denny McCarthy should be a solid outright bet. And I would agree. Okay. He does have that favorable AM weather advantage. And I like that as well. Now sticking with that, if we just go full picture, so let's do that. Let's take this off, the AM only off. Curious for Dietrich. So I have Dietrich at 6, most likely to win. McCarthy at 5. Wise I like as well. Honestly, guys, this is a weekend. Obviously, Norton's not there, and I don't really see Poston winning. I'd be fine with just doing Sanjay, Lowry, Wise, Kuchar, McCarthy, Dietrich. And maybe you do a long shot bet like Robbie Shelton. I'd be fine outright wise with that. Let's just touch on Thomas Dietrich. Why do I like him? Well, the issue with him is that he doesn't have a start at this tournament, right? But with that, he is the 2nd best specialist in the field. Once again, the specialist is going to be data that is being pulled in based off of how the course is projected to play. Based off the greens, course designer, location, amount of hazards in play, scoring, this hard scoring event, projected weather, which I said could be a little bit skewed this week because I have it set to be bad. But we can see one of the better plays that we're getting. And so that would mean we're leaving off a play like Taylor Pendrith and Jonathan Vegas, who I don't like the idea of that. Adrian, who's like a really strong DP Tour player, and if it does play more difficult than expected, I think he's a good one. Now, Robbie Shelton, I specifically put this tweet out there on Twitter when he was 80-1 because I'm like, that is the best value we're getting. That's probably the best value that we're going to get in a field for a while. Because if we look at it, we can see he already has had some upside at this tournament, right? And he's coming in as the 17th best play this week. All right. Top 15 specialist. Like, he's not a guarantee to even make the cut. But when he has made the cut, we have seen a 6th place finish, a 10th, a 15th, multiple top 25 finishes. Like, the upside's been there. And so with a little bit lower caliber of a field, like maybe the 6 turns into a victory, right? And a little bit, some course experience as well. We'd like to see that. And so I specifically put that tweet out there because I was just like, this is insane value. And like Adam Schenk was a good value for a while as well, betting wise. And I typically don't like to do that. My message is typically, hey, just bet on the best players. Like, don't get cute with it. I would say that's probably the biggest problem that people have is getting too cute in PGA DFS, fantasy golf. All right, so getting into the ownership leverage section of this video. So looking at it, we can just sort of by who is the highest projected owned players. We got Sanjay, we got Lowry, we got Wise, we got Vegas, we got Kirk, Svensson, a little bit shocking there. Mingwoo Lee, probably a little bit shocking there. And then Denny McCarthy, Ben Griffin. This one is probably the most shocking to me. Ben Griffin pulling in that much ownership. But like, I kind of get it. Okay, Svensson's a little bit of a shock there, especially when you look at like Pendrith. Probably Pendrith then Svensson, right? Close, but just kind of strange there. I thought Ming Woo Lee would be a sneaky play this week, and so I'm kind of mad that he's getting that much ownership. To me, it makes more sense to fade him than to be on him. Okay, and let's just start with that, I guess. So like with Ming Woo Lee, you could play, and obviously Norton's not there. You could simply play like Matt Kuchar, who's a little bit cheaper, cheaper and lower owned. Danny McCarthy, who slightly ranks out better than Ming Woo Lee. Thomas Dietrich, a cut maker, coming in as the third best leverage play. Actually, if you take out some of the players that have withdrawn, he would be the top leverage ranked play this week. So like, I would rather go that route. I get why he's pulling in some ownership. And then if we look at like Svensson to Pendrith, sure, it's like $200, but 3% difference. Like, I'd probably rather go Pendrith there. Even JT Poston, probably rather go him. Now, Vegas's ownership does make a ton of sense. He's like the one player with given his price tag that we're kind of being forced into playing this week, right? Coming in, checking all the boxes, 3 straight make cuts at this tournament, 3 straight make cuts on the PGA Tour, coming in top 30 or better in all the key metrics that we're looking at: specialist, course history rank, recent form rank, staff hit. A very solid play across the board. So it makes sense that he's getting that much ownership. Now, I kind of just want to look at it in terms of who's overvalued and who's undervalued. So if we look at it right now, like Joseph Brentlett is pulling in the highest ownership in terms of players that are overvalued. Now, is Brentlett a bad play? No. People are just chasing his recent form. And if you compare him to the other players around his price point range, you can see why he's being overvalued. And I think that's kind of the best way to look at this tool. So you could go with Justin Sudd there, who, if it weren't for that withdrawal, would be a better play than Brentlett. And you can get him at like 4%, 3%. And he withdrew 2 events ago because of a shoulder injury during that AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am. If we knew for sure that it wasn't an actual injury, probably would be, a lot of people would be on him more. So I think like Aaron Rye would be a good play. Stefan Jaeger, very cheap ownership for him. To me, Robbie Shelton is someone that should be chalk that isn't chalk. I'd rather be on him than Brentlett, especially at, slightly lower ownership, 1% difference, not huge. But we can see like why he's being pulled in as one of the most overowned players just compared to the players around him. We can see that him being the highest owned in that session, probably too high. Same thing with Benny Ann there as well. These are fine plays, but given where they're priced, given the players around them, we can see why they're being overvalued. And then just looking at like Sanjay Im is starting to get into that orange tier where it goes from red to orange. So he is getting to the point where we might have to think about it with him. Yellow. And so like you could fade him. Okay. I'll give you a reason to fade him. Has a different tee time wave than like Shane Lowry. And that's really the biggest decision there. If they had both the same tee time, you wouldn't have to worry about a potential tee time advantage. And I already mentioned the weather report. I don't know if we're going to trust that or not. We'll see. But let's do the flip side of it. So Rogers and Norn, they both withdrew. Cam Davis is Cameron Davis in some databases and whatnot. It's frustrating. I need to set up a new rule for him. So like, take it for whatever. Just don't look at him. Okay, but we can see Thomas Dietrich is being pulled in as the highest leverage rank play, coming in at a pretty low ownership. Same thing for Christian Bazoon. Now, if you were to take out like his miscuts, I shouldn't even say it, his miscut recently, and I bring that up because he had been someone that like on the DP tour, and this is kind of the caution with Ming Woo Lee a little bit, is that Bazoon out, like if we just started here, right, where he had rattled off some good starts, and then we had the Joburg Open and this one, we would think he's a much better play than he is, right? Came in, miscut, and then top 12, miscut, and T6 or T58. So, like, on paper, he's a good play. Coming in as a decent leverage rank play, like, I'd be fine ending up on him. Then from there, like, Denny McCarthy, I think is a strong play. As the week has went on, I've gone on him more and more. I mentioned I think he's a pretty strong outright bet. And then Jaeger as well. If he's going to be this low on, that's going to be pretty intriguing to me. Then I already mentioned, like, I think Adam Shank's a much better play than this. 4% seems a little bit too low for me, especially when you got something like Dylan Fratelli there getting 7. That's kind of interesting to me. SH Kim is a good play. I would say him and Shank are about the same play. So those are spots in which you could potentially gain some leverage on the field. Now let's go ahead and get into the value report. So just real quickly, who are the top values on DraftKings? Well, I've got Adam Shank, Padraig Harrington. I don't really love Padraig Harrington. He's popping up data-wise. I don't love it. Probably staying away from him. Then you got Jaeger. Then you got Rye, Shelton, Willett. Obviously, Patrick Rogers not in. Palmer, Malnati. So some interesting names there. Let's go ahead and sort by FanDuel now. Shank, a lot of the same players here. It's just they're kind of being valued a little bit differently. And then Yahoo. Let's see here. This is always interesting because sometimes we can get some min-price plays that shouldn't be min-priced. Now, as a whole, I would say Eric Cole is going to be a very sneaky kind of ownership play as well. you could roster him. And then, nothing too crazy here. Yahoo-wise, probably not focusing on that. Let's go ahead and get to the lineup builder real quick. So I mentioned with the lineup builder, the key way to get on more players that you want to be on in this is just going to be to simply bump up their projection a little bit. So like Shelton, I want to be on a little bit more. So I bumped his projection up a little bit. So that's going to be the way we go about kind of navigating this. And so another player, like as the week has went on, I really do like Denny a little bit more. So maybe like 107, and same thing with Aaron Wise, maybe 106.5. And so, just some data points. Let's just go ahead and do this. I'm going to do 3 unique players and then 30% exposure just to show you guys which lineups are being pulled in. Now I did change some of the data, so it's not going to be fully just based off of projection. And we can see, like, I like this build a decent amount, probably a little bit too much Harris English this week. I don't feel the need to be on him, but as it sits right now, I'm getting some exposure to a lot of the plays that I like. Probably would want to be on Sunjay Im a little bit more, probably on Danny Willett much less. Okay, maybe 5%. Bazunhout, probably same thing. Like, don't want to go crazy with it. They're fine plays. But for the most part, I kind of like the process here. But that is all for this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. If you did, you know what to do. Give a like and subscribe. Let's have a good slate, guys. Remember, if you guys want to check out that underdog stuff, I think it's a great chance, especially like in the long term. Like I think someone using that method could hit every single week in a decent way, more so than they can on DraftKings, because I think you can gain bigger edges there, because obviously people can be on the same plays on DraftKings as you, whereas this, they can't be. So I feel like if a lot of people were to enter that in using that same strategy, kind of like when I first started covering showdown slates, right? Massive edges there. We had someone winning every single week, basically. My goal, like last year at the start of the year, was to have 3 9-5 winners in 3 months of the year. We did that in the first 3 months, and it was pretty crazy. And so I feel like that could be the same edge that we are currently getting on Underdog. Now, I haven't tested that out yet. Like when I made that claim last year for showdowns, it's because we had already, like, there's proof in the pudding there. Like we had already done that, and now it's just tracking it. Whereas this, have no data go into it, but just like logically thinking, I feel like that could be a big edge. All right, that's all. Let's have a good slate, and as always, let's keep cashing.